Hi, John. This is Sumedha.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So I just wanted to know that how did you, how did you get into playing tennis and then made it a career?
Well, I was very lucky. My father loved tennis. He was a tennis nut. He took the game up late, so he didn't make it on the tour, but he got to Wimbledon qualifying, so he became a good player. He loved tennis with a passion, and we were very fortunate that we lived about half a mile away from a very nice tennis club in Westcliff-on-Sea, a very small club, about 7 courts, little clubhouse. But so we would spend all of our weekends going down to the tennis club. We'd be there at 9 o'clock in the morning until literally 9 at night. I'm talking about the summer, the winter, obviously not quite as much. And we were there the whole time, and it was sort of in our blood. My father loved it. He didn't put any pressure on us. And the lucky thing for me was that my older brother David, who is he's about 7 years older than me, by the time I started playing tennis at 5 or 6 years old, he was already number 2 or 3 in the country in the under 12s. So he gave me a target to aim at, to see my older brother being a tennis player and seeing him playing these tournaments and seeing the joy he had in competing. It gave me the incentive to do that. My younger brother was 2 years younger than me. He followed me. So we would go to the club and we would all be there all day long. So it was almost like I had no choice. I wasn't forced into it, but it was part of our life. That's what we did. That's what the Lloyds did. We would go down to the club. And all my friends, a lot of people had school friends. I didn't have that many school friends. All my friends were tennis friends. They were all the juniors that I met at the tennis club, and they've remained friends with me since then. So it was sort of something that I was almost born into, so to speak, really. And once I got into it and started following the famous names on TV, I fell in love with the sport, and and I still am in love with it now at my ripe old age.
That's nice. So being from a sports-loving family have helped you a lot in your tennis career.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think otherwise. I mean, I would never have got into it. I would have probably played football or something like that, but which I also love. But the tennis, it was just what we did as a family, and so it was just happy days. You know, we had my sister even played. She played at club tennis, and it was all just that's what we loved to do. So it sounds a bit boring, but it was actually a lot of good fun because we met a lot of great people at the club, and that's where we had our fun. So I've been very fortunate.
Yeah. So throughout your career, you have many ups and lows. So what will be the best part in your career?
Well, it's a good question. You're right. We have many ups and downs if you're a sports person, because every tournament during the year, when you think about it, there's only ever one winner. Everybody else in the draw is lost, other than the one person. So there are plenty of losses that you have, but you get, for me to get a high in tennis, to win, something big. My biggest high was winning the mixed doubles at Wimbledon. And the reason being, I think, was apart from winning a Wimbledon title, but was standing in the royal box when we got presented. My partner and I, Wendy Turnbull from Australia, we got presented with the trophies. And it's going to sound corny and all this stuff, but it was true. We looked, I remember looking down at the players' box where all your friends and relatives come to watch, and I saw my parents there, and I sort of looked at them, and I realised then, looking at them, that all the sacrifice that they had made, and sort of for me, I sort of not paid them back, but given them some joy. That all the sacrifice, they had no holidays, all their money going into our game, had been sort of rewarded in some way, and to see the smiles on their face, that to me was the biggest high I ever had. The biggest lows, oh gosh, there are too many to remember. I guess that my worst one was tennis is a lonely sport because it's one-on-one. In other games, other sports, if you have a bad day, you can lean on the other players in your team, your friends, to help you out. In tennis, there's no escape. And one time, I played a match against Jimmy Connors, who was number 1 in the world. And I was not in good shape. I shouldn't really have even played the tournament. It was the US Open, and there were about 12,000 people on the court and millions watching on TV. And I was so bad. I was out of shape, and Jimmy Connors was one of the nastiest guys on court. I mean that in a way that he wanted to destroy his opponents and wanted to win every point. And I lost the first set 6-love, lost the second set 6-love, and was down 2-love. So I'd lost 14 games in a row, and the crowd were booing me because I was playing so badly, and I couldn't get a game. And I wanted to literally dig a hole in the ground and bury myself, but I had to keep playing. I luckily somehow won a couple of games, and I remember coming off that court. It was the worst feeling of my life because, you know, there were millions watching me, and I'd sort of humiliated myself in playing so badly and getting beaten up by someone that, you know, I was going to lose to, but I should have at least done well again. So, yeah, that was probably my worst experience in tennis anyway that I've ever had.
Yeah, so as you mentioned that you were going through your very bad days, losing all the match in a row. So how did you recover from that phase?
Well, it took me a while. I tell you, there was a lot of people in the British press sometimes are not too friendly with things like that. So they were obviously telling me I should quit, and I sort of did for about a year. I sort of went into a hole almost and didn't really play much. And my ranking dropped from, I was 21 in the world down to about 450. And so my career was almost over, and I was 28 years old, which was in those days sort of pretty old to be almost still playing. A coach came after me, a guy called Bob Brett, who passed away recently. He was a great coach, and he was a hard worker. And he said to me, "I have faith in you that you can still be a good player. If you want me to take you on, I'll do it. But if you don't try 110%, then I'll kick you out." And I made the decision then to give it one last go and dedicate myself to getting back. And it took me about a year, but I got back to 21 in the world from 478 or whatever it was. So it made me to really look inside my career and did I want to end my career looking back at it and saying that I'd not put in the work and dedication that I should have done, because that's the worst thing I think as a sportsman that you can do, is when you finish your career to look back at it and say, you know what, I didn't really give 100%. And I am guilty of that, actually, in a lot of ways. But I did, at least at the latter start of the end of my career, put the effort in, which I should have done when I was younger. And I do regret that. But at least I sort of got it together at the end of my career. It was a lot of hard work, but it was certainly worthwhile in the end.
Yes. And my last question will be that, so your new autobiography is coming out. How is it different from your first autobiography?
Well, it's a lot better. How about that? Right off the bat. I think with Phil, we had a great understanding. He knew what I was about, and we had this sort of it was almost telepathic, really. When we were talking about it and going through it, we sort of almost fed off each other, and we spoke the same language. I wanted to do it because of the first book I didn't like, and this to me is sort of the real me, and sort of I think that people that have read it, I think, have enjoyed it, and have just sort of liked the difference. They can feel it by reading about, by seeing what I've written on pages about the difference of my time in my life in comparison with the first book, where a lot of people said that wasn't you when you wrote it. That wasn't you. That wasn't the John that I know. And I think this book is real. Whether you like it or not, and hopefully more people will like it than not, it's real. It's my true feelings, and Phil was great that he managed to get that out of me, whereas certainly the first author didn't do that. A lot of that was my own fault, but the first book was poorly written and everything else, and I didn't help it. But this one, I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Sumedha.